So my yard looks like this, and I gotta fix this because, bro, what? Like the insane amount of overgrowth of different species of plants. I gotta revive the mint patch. I'm protecting my hostas right now. I gotta do something with the grapevines that I strung across last year. Currently, it is over the top of this greenhouse and then some small trellising I did, but it is tied to a very short post on the side of the house, and I now have this taller cattle panel, so I'm going to move these from down here to up there so we can get a little more clearance in the headway. So while you watch me detangle this grapevine from around my fence, I'm gonna answer a couple of common questions I get. Do you get a lot of birds eating your fruit? No. I am not sure why the birds don't like the fruit that I have. I have raspberries, I have strawberries, and of course I have the grapes. This is not the first year I have had grapes on the vine, but I don't have any issues with birds. I do have a small issue with squirrels, but those are like Chicago's native gangsters, so I let the squirrels take what they must, and then I keep all the things that I need. So I ended up having to go around the back side to detach this from the fence because not only had the tendrils started to wrap around, but it is way longer than it was last year, and so it started to grow around other already existing lines of vine. But pulling it forward, it was already touching the ground, so I knew I needed to get a new lead line up there. So grapes are a vine, and in order for vines to climb, they tend to wrap their tendrils around the next closest solid thing they can find. So all I'm doing here is just detaching the grapes from one another, separating their leaves, and giving them space to stretch out. And I'll probably have to do that a couple of times because it is fairly attached in a lot of places over here. So now that I have gotten everything that I need detangled, I'm just coming through and loosening the pre-existing lines so they can start being relocated to the cattle panel. So the cattle panel is probably about 14 feet high, which is why you see me on my ladder. They're folded over though, so that is not 14 feet in the sky, even though that is an elevated platform I'm standing on. That platform is probably about a good 16 to 18 inches from where the sidewalk is, and because the cattle panels are folded in half, they are about 7 feet high. Why do I have the cattle panels there? Because previously, in the same bed by the fence where you saw me detangling the grapes, there used to be some raspberry canes. The raspberry canes I did not know would get over 6 feet tall, and so they could no longer share space with the grapes, especially as they spread out and started to shade the raspberries. Taking a look at some of my lead lines, I thought this one was the furthest over to the left, but it turns out it actually should go right in this gap space right here. So I'm going to try to cross this one over top and put it somewhere in the center here if I can find space. I relocated the raspberries to this side of the yard so that they could get adequate sunlight and become a berry arch. The hope is to have raspberries and blackberries on this side on the walkway. Happy gardening!